somewhere between fable and parable and fantasy. It doesn't fit cleanly. Hello, welcome to I Read This Book with Chris. I am Chris. Today we will be discussing Pork by Chris Freddi. And while discussing it, I'll be having a drink. It's called the Breakfast Bell. It's got hot sauce in there and maple syrup. I came across this book, Pork, at the local bookstore, and I picked it up because it's a book called Pork. And then you look at the cover, and there is badgers and a pike fighting a weasel and a frog and an owl. There we go. None of which are pork. There's no pork here. There are no pigs. So I thought it was interesting. Caution, you are about to enter a dark forest where animals live, love, fight, and die. The most extraordinary animal book you'll ever read. Pork proves yet again the uniqueness of the art of fiction. Mr. Freddi has made up a universe of his own in order to brilliantly illuminate the one we all share. And Chris Freddi, if you have not heard of him, it's because he doesn't write. He wrote this book, he wrote another book of fiction, and then he wrote 2 books that are sports. After he wrote this, at a young age of 24, apparently, he then went on to be a sports journalist. Interesting trajectory, especially considering how good this book is. So I picked it up. I thought it was going to be a fun little, animal thing, maybe a little dark. However, I was not expecting how dark it is. It's not gory, but a lot of animals just die. It's kind of a short story collection, but all of the short stories are about animals in a single forest. So every chapter or story follows a different animal or set of animals as they go through their life. Sometimes at the end, they fall in love. Sometimes they die. Sometimes their children die. It's pretty dark. I had no idea what to expect. It does say on the front, caution, you're about to enter a dark forest where animals live, love, fight, and die. But the first story starts off, and part of the reason I think I love this is the language is so simple, so clean, and yet it was still very cold and there was rain in the air when round Pork pushed his snout out from under the leaves. It was well into autumn as the leaves were wet, fresh-smelling. Pork frowned. Too soon, he said to himself, waking up too soon with everything still all wet and cold. Very strange. He took a couple steps forward, scratched at the damp forest floor, and sniffed. Too soon, too wet. He sniffed again, coughed, and shambled off into the night. The first chapter, or short story, follows Pork, who is a hedgehog. Picks up a little early in the spring, so it's still winter. I mean, I believe it's set in England. At the very least, the author is English. So they just have very wet, cold, nasty winters. Lots of rain and not a whole lot of fun. So he wakes up early. He walks around, tries to figure out what's going on. As he's walking through the forest, he then has a fight with a couple of different badgers. He's just walking, trying to figure out what's going on, why he woke up early in the season. Some badgers go and see him and start to mess with him. They start to attack him. He rolls into a ball to protect himself has the ability to attack one of the badgers that is attacking him. It gets injured and it slinks off, and then its friend slinks off after. It stays into a ball, to protect itself, as apparently hedgehogs do. Once the coast is clear, he wakes up and he keeps walking. And then he sees, as he comes to the edge of the forest, across a field, this big, windy, shiny thing. And he's interested. What is this? And he's attracted to it. He doesn't know why. And he goes, and there's a ditch right out of the forest before you enter the field. And the ditch is filled with mud, and it's a slow-moving stream. And as he goes to work his way through this stream, he gets turned around, and he comes back, and he lands, and he starts crawling up, and he sees the forest in front of him. He realizes he's on the wrong side, and he crawls back down, crosses the stream again, rocks back up. Once he gets to the top, he sees in front of him, yet again, that big, shiny, curvy thing. And for whatever reason, he feels called. Walks through what appears to be a plowed field. So the earth is soft, and at one point, as he's walking through, he steps onto a stone that he was not expecting, and manages to twist his foot and his leg. And his leg is hurt quite bad. But he looks up and he still sees this shiny, curvy thing in front of him. And he, still attracted, not sure why, he walks, continues his way up. And he gets up there, and he's confused because he gets there and it's not quite what he thought it was going to be. He didn't know what it was going to be. And then he hears a rumbling. And being scared, he rolls himself up into a ball. And then all of a sudden, it was a road, of course, hard and uncomfortable to the touch. Pork stared at it in dismay, then lay down on his side and wept quietly into the fur of his shoulder. He didn't see the twin spots of light that punctured the darkness a long way off, and all he heard was the rain. But then the road began to tremble, and he caught the sound of a distant rumbling. Cold, frightened, and in pain, he buried his nose deep into his belly for protection. The rumbling noise grew louder, then very loud. There was a faint squeak of turning rubber, a spasm of intense light, and then what had once been round pork was just a flat patch of hedgehog, turning red in the rain and moonless light. So, the name of the book, Pork, you meet him, and he gets run over by a car. That's the first chapter. And you're like, this seems like a lot. I don't know what to do with this. What does one do with a hedgehog that just gets run over by a car? And the next chapter, you're like, alrighty, I guess it's going to be dark. And you meet this old owl who is living up on a tree. He's so old, he can't fly very well. He definitely can't hunt anymore. So he's there all by himself. And he's getting hungry. It's been several days since he's last eaten. So he calls out a cry of help, and some other owls nearby hear it. And one of them comes by to check. And it's like, oh, hey there, old owl, what's going on? Did you call? And he said, no. Did you call? No, I knew you were the owl that called. And he's like, very quietly under his breath, I need some food. What? I need some food. Okay. I'll go get you a mouse. Okay. The other owl goes, flies off, catches a mouse, flies back and brings it to him. And he's like, well, thank you. I'm not strong enough to be able to eat this mouse whole. Can you help me cut it up with your beak? And she's like, yeah, I can do that. He's like, well, it's raining and cold outside. Let's come inside my hollow. So he brings her inside as she's about to try to cut up the mouse for him so he can eat. And he turns around and traps her and starts to attack her. And her mate, who expects her to be back, then starts flying around looking for her because he was expecting her to come back. He then goes and sees this tree, and he comes up to the front of the hollow, and he calls out, and the old owl comes back out and said, "Oh no, I haven't seen her." And he's like, "Okay," thinks something's wrong. And he looks inside and he sees his mate inside the tree, and he pushes his way through and attacks the owl enough for the she owl to come out, and they both fly out and escape. The old owl, who was going to kill and eat the she owl, contents himself on the mouse and says, "Well, if not you, I'll eat some other one." And you'll learn that he apparently is the oldest owl that ever is, that he actually is older than the forest. And he's been doing this and eating other owls for many, many, many years. And that's the second story. And you're like, this is getting... I thought it was dark, because all of a sudden a hedgehog just gets run over by a truck. This is even darker. There is an ancient, not even vampiric owl, but cannibalistic, undying owl. This is weird. The next story is a story about some squirrels who fall in love, and you're like, okay, it's not just death. And you work your way through. All the language is so clean. Not a whole... The imagery is nothing crazy. Simple words, simple order. But the characters feel real. Things are dark. And then at a certain point, we reach... Let's see. There's also one about a mouse that has an Oedipus complex, which is weird. And then there's the story called Ugg, or the chapter called Ugg. I don't know whether to call it a chapter or a story. Which is a frog who is called to come and help out this deer. His one surviving son got kidnapped by mice, or rats. Got kidnapped by rats. And this great deer apparently holds the forest together, is unable to get to his son because, rats are small and it's a tiny place, and his son is but a fawn, so it can sneak into places he can't reach. So he calls this, it's not a frog, it's a toad. "Hey, I need you to help out my son." Apparently the toad is old and grumbly, quite proud, but is also, his shoulder is hurt. And apparently, this deer can appear and make mist show up and just appear. And also has the magical ability to heal other woodland creatures. And so, half heals the toad enough so he can work, but so he's still in pain. His shoulder works, but he's still in pain. At which point, he says, "After you have saved my son, I can heal you up the rest of the way. Because I know the kind of animal you are. If I healed you all the way, you'd just go and hop off." And the toad says, "Fair enough, I would have done that." The toad goes, kills a bunch of rats, manages to find the deer, and then single-handedly pulls the deer out of the rat hole after killing at least a dozen rats, if not more. At which point, once they're out into the light, the deer can hobble its way off, and they manage to escape to safety. So that story, all of a sudden, you're like, okay, well maybe this owl weird undying thing, it's just the way it is. Maybe the only magic is just this weird owl that lives forever, or at least thinks that it lives forever. But then you get to this story where there's actual healing powers and magic and mist. Okay. And you continue on and you continue on. I don't really want to spoil this, but in the end, the last chapter, for whatever reason, a crocodile makes its way into the forest and kills the great deer, who is the protector and the magic holder who keeps the forest together. Requires some of the animals to come together, try to figure out what's going on in order to deal with this menace. And they manage to do it, and a bunch of animals are brought back to life at the end. With a little bit of magic. Like I said, I think it's a really quality book. Quite upset that he did not write more. But I think if you just pick this up, I think you can be happy and say, if this was the only book this guy ever wrote, he did write a few more, but this is the main thing apparently that he's ever written. You can be happy with that and say, this guy is a true artist for creating this book. Somewhere between fable and parable and fantasy, it doesn't fit cleanly into any specific genre, any specific concept of what it is. It's dark. I think this would be a good book to read around Halloween, especially if you're someone who can handle a little bit of dark but doesn't like anything Stephen King or any horror. Like, I don't like horror. I can deal with Edgar Allan Poe. Like, Lovecraft is too much for me. This is not there. This is like the fables, if you read Aesop's Fables or something, where there's dark, but it's not too dark. And it doesn't go into detail. There's no gore. It's just, and they died. They got run over. Or, bam, at a certain point there was a vole that got eaten by the crocodile, and it said, and Vim the vole was no more. That's what it says. There's no blood, there's no gore, there's no over-descriptiveness of it. It's simple, clear writing in a way I wish more people did. This is going off the subject a little bit. I have tried my best to read classics, and one of the people that, is a classic author who's written a lot of books, Charles Dickens. The only book that I can enjoy of Charles Dickens is The Christmas Carol. All of the other books, you can tell that he was paid by the word. He adds all sorts of flowy extra language. The Christmas Carol, apparently he had like 6 weeks to write. He wrote The Christmas Carol in 6 weeks with a brilliant piece of literature that lasts the length of time. And all of these other books are no good because they are this thick, because he got paid by the word. They aren't good. Christmas Carol is. Same thing. Maybe people won't like this, my thoughts on this, but Tolkien. The Hobbit is great. It's a short book. I've read it in a day multiple times. You can sit down and read it and work your way through the whole story. In The Lord of the Rings, I have tried reading it. I can't read it. I've tried listening to it on audio tape, the audiobook of it, and I think I got like 12 hours into the first one, and literally nothing had happened. This book, nice. It's not fast. It doesn't speed your way through it. It's step by step by step. Beautiful, clear, concise. I don't know how else to say it. I've said it too many times already. So I'll end it there. So I don't know how easy it'll be to find. I looked it up online. There are copies available. But it's a good book. I would pick it up. If you like things a little dark, pick it up.